What's up, YouTube family? We'll talk to you guys a little bit today about a couple tournament experiences that I'm real proud of. I've been talking about this adversity is dope thing. I think I explained that to you guys pretty good on that initial video, but just to kind of refresh your memory about what adversity is dope is all about. Um, all it is embracing the fact that most of the time things are not going to work right. You're not going to have enough. You're not going to find enough fish. Your life is not going to be perfect. Get over that crap and do whatever you want to do anyway, is what that's all about. And of course, most of the time, since tournament fishing is pretty much, that's a big part of my life, that's the eyes that I'm going to see this adversity is dope thing through. But that doesn't mean that it's about that. This could be about anything in your life. It could be about an illness that you got over, beef with a family member. It could be anything, problems on your job, whatever. But of course, the eyes and the filter that I always see it through is always going to be tournament fishing. And just going to tell you a little quick story. It's not even that deep. It's not always that deep. I don't want you guys like digging up skeletons that you kind of already got over. It doesn't have to even be a story that deep, man. It could be like I walked out to the mailbox and I flipped over head over the heels and I still got my mail brought back. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything that deep. So I don't want you to think, I don't want you to get super deep on it. Some of you guys have really awesome stories and I do want you to tell those. But if you don't have one of those stories, I don't want you to feel like you can't participate in this deal. But my rookie season on tour, we had a tournament at Kentucky Lake, Tennessee River Lake. For you guys that are fishermen, uh, probably know the Tennessee River, especially during a post-spawn period of the year, is almost always an offshore type of event. And traditionally, I've always struggled on Tennessee River during the post-spawn. There's two things that have always been, I'm liable to have a bad tournament anytime, but there's two things that scare me a little bit or intimidate me a little bit. One is Florida, and two is the Tennessee River during the post-spawn. I'm used to fishing deep and offshore just because of the lakes, that I grew up fishing. But there's something about the Tennessee River that's totally different fishing deep. It's not really deep anyway. And just the way the fish set up, they don't do that where I live. I didn't grow up doing that. Very little experience. So coming up fishing, I fished the coasters after I kind of went through the BFLs, and we always had at least one Tennessee River event. Some years we had it during the post spawn. If we had like a pre or a spawn tournament, I usually could get through that one. When we had those post spawn tournaments, it would always kick me in the gut. And so I had a huge mental obstacle to get over my first year on tour. When I saw that Kentucky Lake in May or June, I think it was June, I was so scared. I was like, that's going to be the one that I really got to practice hard for. So um, we got through that first half of the season. Was doing okay, for a rookie season. Cashed a couple checks. I had one or two bad tournaments. In the bad tournaments, I kind of even knew what I did wrong and just wish I could kind of get over and do them again. But we come up to Kentucky Lake towards the end of the season. That was next to the last tournament that year. And I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to let that tournament ruin my season. So I actually left. I usually leave my travel days like the Saturday before the event. Practice starts on Sunday. I usually leave on Saturday, get up there, get campsite set up, start practice on Sunday. I left for this particular Kentucky Lake event like on a Tuesday. And my plan was, since I really had never caught a fish offshore ledge fishing on Tennessee River up until this point. Never even caught one, never tried it. It was too intimidating. Didn't make sense to me. But I left like on a Tuesday to go to Guntersville, spend 2 or 3 days fishing Guntersville before Kentucky Lake. just to get a feel for it, to see what it was like to catch a fish doing the offshore deal. Because I never done it. I was scared to death about that. I knew I was going to have to do that because you have to catch them at Kentucky Lake. You got to catch them. And I actually called a buddy. He wasn't a classic champ then. Um, Jordan Lee. I got to spend about a half a day on the lake on Guntersville with Jordan Lee. Because I really didn't even know what they looked like on the graph. I use like structure scan and side imaging at home, totally different than what you use it for in Tennessee River. You don't really mark fish on the Savannah River chain. You can, but that's not really what you look for. Because our fish just spend a lot on, we look more for brush piles and stuff like that here at home. But on Tennessee River, you're actually looking for fish on those bars and main river bars and so forth. So I really didn't know what they looked like. Never caught one. I needed to put some time in. So I spent half a day on the lake with Jordan Lee that day before he was a classic champion. And that really opened my eyes to a lot because I'd never seen him on the graph before. I got a little confidence. Anytime you fish with somebody doing something, if you're not good at even just being in the boat with him, you get a little confidence. So I fished with him that half a day, and then I went 2 days after that. And I actually caught some fish. I actually found a couple schools of fish, turn around, cast to them, and catch them. Gave me a lot of confidence. I was addicted. After spending those 2.5, 3 days on Guntersville fishing offshore, and I'd only found 2 or 3 schools, I was absolutely addicted to fishing offshore, graphing, turning around, trying to fish, trying to catch those fish. So I go to Kentucky Lake, and I didn't even fish that much. I graphed for 3 days solid, probably made 100, 150 casts in 3 days. And, I really put in a lot of time because I wanted to make the cup, and I really wanted to get over that mental hurdle of telling myself I couldn't catch them on the Tennessee River during post-spawn. So I did that, practiced for a couple of days, and I never found a big school of fish. Never. At Kentucky Lake. I found one place in 3 days that I felt like had fish. And first day of tournament, I go to that place, and sure enough, our first cast you throw out on this place, I thrown a big old monster. I had like a couple basic, typical offshore stuff, old monster, deep diving, crankbait, swim bait, that kind of stuff. Nico rig. I throw my big worm out there, and like as soon as it would hit the bottom, donk. Long story short, I found one place. I didn't have anywhere else there was fish at, and I catch 9 pounds, 9 or 10 pounds the first day of the tournament, which put me in like about as far down the standings as you could possibly be. Keep in mind that I put in like almost 2 weeks of work into this tournament. I studied every Bassmaster event, DVR that I had on Kentucky Lake or anywhere there was a ledge fishing tournament. I put a lot of extra work into this deal, and then first day of the tournament, I'm setting in like 160. And so that's a kick in the gut. Like when you work hard at it like that, and then, just because especially in fishing, just because you work hard doesn't mean it's going to turn out all rosy and pink. It doesn't, a lot of times it didn't work out that way. And so, I had 9 or 10 pounds. Everything went, fish were still there. They bit the base. It's just for whatever reason, I wasn't getting any big bites. My co-angler that day, I was catching mine on a big worm. My co-angler that day he had like 3 fish for 14 pounds, which would have done me really good because the weights were kind of off that year. And I just remember the fact that my co-angler that year, he only caught 3, but he caught like 3 5-pounders, and he caught them all on a crankbait. Caught them all on moving bait where I was throwing, hitting the bottom. And so I thought about that overnight. I was like, maybe you just need to speed up your bait. I went back to the exact same spot that I caught 9 pounds on the first day. I go back to the same exact spot. Sure enough, I pull up to my spot. It's dead slick calm that morning. Threw out there, worm hits the bottom, cracking. It's like 1.5 pounds. I think it was the last time I picked up that worm all day. I fished a crankbait and a 5-inch swim bait for the rest of the day, 20 pounds. And I went from like 100 and 200,000 all the way to like 46th place. Wasn't my best finish that year, but the fact that I actually thought about what happened and I moved up to the top third of the field doing something that I don't know how to do. Like, I don't know. I had no experience. My dad didn't teach me how to ledge fish. I never fished with anybody ledge fishing. Never had a tournament where I did well ledge fishing. None of that. And I finished in the money and busted 20 pounds on Kentucky Lake. The best feeling that I had. For me, that was the best finish all year. Those pictures right there behind me, I'll show you these pictures. So these came from Lanier. I hung this in my little office because this was a real special event for me. But this was during the days that I went to Guntersville. That's some of the fish that I caught fishing offshore at Guntersville, right there at the bottom. And then this was day 2 of the event right here. That's day 2 of the event. I caught 2, Kung Fu ledge pandas fishing that day. But that is what adversity is dope to me. That was probably one of the most accomplishing moments on the FLW tour for me so far, was to come out of that tournament alive and bag up 20 pounds fishing offshore. Something that I can't do, can't relate to, haven't got to do it since that day. There hasn't been another event on the Tennessee River during the post-spawn. So that's the story for me. That's one of the ones that really sticks out that I always remember. Is Kentucky Lake 2016 in June. It's probably one of my fondest accomplishments so far, fishing the FLW tour.